Hi, and welcome to the Making Predictions with Probability video. Now, when we make predictions with probability, we're going to stick to the same format. This is called a proportion when you have a fraction equal to a fraction. The first part is your desired outcome out of your total outcome, and this is the same way that you find simple probability. Please review your simple probability notes if you need a refresher on how to find this. Now the next part is the numerator is how many times is it likely to happen, and that's your prediction. That's the thing you're trying to find out of a total number of trials. So let's get to it. First, we are going to flip a coin 100 times when we want to figure out how many are tails. You might be able to figure this out off the top of your head, but we're going to start with easy numbers to work with, and so that we can work our way up to numbers that aren't so easy to work with. So first, we're just finding the simple probability. What's the probability of getting a tails just in general? Well, there's one tails on a coin out of a total of 2 total outcomes, heads or tails, 1 out of 2. And we're going to set that equal to our prediction, how many we think is going to happen out of the total number of trials, and in this case that is 100. Now there are 2 ways that we can do this. The first way is we can say that 2 is multiplied or divided by what to get us 100. Now we need to be careful. You cannot do this if you are thinking about this in terms of addition or subtraction. It has to be multiplication or division because it's going hand in hand with scale factor. So do not do this method if you're tempted to add or subtract. But 2 times 50 gets us 100. And so since it was multiplied by 50 to get 100, then we can do the same thing to the 1 to get our x. 1 times 50 gets us 50, and that is our answer. Now that's the first method you could do it. The second method is something I like to call the butterfly method, and I actually make a butterfly where you circle the diagonal parts. This works every time you have a fraction equal to a fraction. And then you're going to multiply what you circled. So I circled 1 times 100, and that gets 100. And I circled 2 times x, so I multiply that together. And I have a one-step equation. We get the x by itself by dividing the 2 away because currently they're being multiplied and you have to do the opposite. So we're going to divide the 2 away to get rid of the 2 and have the x by itself, but whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So 100 divided by 2 gets us 50, and that is also equal to x. So there are 2 different methods. You can do either one. Some you might see quicker and easier than others, and that's okay. You can switch up your methods because they're going to get you the same answer every time. Now, we have a dice, and we're going to roll it, and it's a standard number cube. When you hear the term standard number cube, it's the same thing as a dice, and we're going to roll it 60 times. And we want to know how many times would you get a number greater than 4. Now we have to be careful because this says greater than, it doesn't say greater than or equal to. So that means we're not including the 4, we're counting 5 and 6. And we're stopping there because that's the highest number on a die. So we have 2 numbers that satisfy this criteria out of 6 total outcomes. You can simplify this to 1/3 at this time. You don't have to, but you are welcome to if you'd like. And now we're going to set it equal to our prediction that we're trying to find out of 60 total trials. Now I didn't simplify this 6 to 1/3 because I actually knew that this would be easy to see. 6 times what gets you 60, and times 10. We can do, we have to do the same thing to the 2. Whatever you do to the denominators, you have to do to the numerators. So we multiplied by 20. Oh, I'm sorry. We multiplied by 10. And 10 times 2 is 20. Now that's the first method. I did it this way because it was easy to see. Again, do not do it this way if you're tempted to add or subtract because it only works for multiplication and division. You are welcome to use method number 2 if you'd prefer, and that's the butterfly method. With the butterfly method, simplifying would be helpful because you were working with smaller numbers, so you could do more of the math in your head. So 2 divided by 6, 2 goes into 2 and 6. 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So when we simplify, we get 1/3. Now we're going to butterfly. We're going to circle the diagonal parts so that we can multiply them together. 1 times 60 is 60. 3 times x is 3x. It's a one-step equation. Divide both sides by 3 to get the x by itself. We've isolated the x, and now we have to divide 60 by the 3 because whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And we end up also getting 20. So you can use either method and you're going to get the same answer. Last problem, we have a spinner. And if you spin the spinner 125 times, how many times will you not get a green? So first, we have to find the probability of not getting a green. It does not matter what the other colors are. You just don't want the green. So we've got 4 other colors that are not green out of a total of 5. This is your simple probability. Again, review your simple probability notes if this part is confusing. And then we're going to set it equal to our prediction, the thing we're trying to find out of, in this case, it's 125 total trials. You can do either method. There's nothing to simplify before we start. If you do method number 1, 5 times what gets you 125. Now, every problem I've shown you has used multiplication. It does not have to be multiplication. It could be division, but it can't be addition and subtraction. Good. 5 times 25 gets us 125. And so whatever you do to 5 to get the 125, you have to do the same thing to the 4. So times 25. 4 times 25 gets us 100. Now, method number 2 is the butterfly method. We have our answer, but if you don't like it this way, then do it method number 2, where we cross multiply. 5 times x is 5x. 4 times 125 is 500. Now we have a one-step equation, and we have to divide both sides by 5 in order to isolate the x. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. 500 divided by 5 gets us 100.